What's up, YouTube? And today I'm talking about setting a savings goal. Put a dollar amount in your head that you want to have saved up and pick a date, pick a year. You see, the title is $400,000 saved up by the year 2030. Can it be done? Is it possible? I think it is. Now, that's the number I'm setting for me based on what I have saved right now and just setting a realistic goal for 2030 and my steps to get there. And so I think it's good for everybody to you might have a dollar amount you won't save by 2027, 2 years from now, and that's fine. This is a 5-year goal for me. I know some people find it hard to save, more going out than what's coming in. And so with me, continue to save, stocks, cryptocurrency, and just be mindful of my spending. And I believe I can get to 400,000 liquid by 2030, and then go from there. Now, if you got rental property or you paying a mortgage on the home, that can also help if you decide to sell the home, get a nice piece of cash from that can help towards your saving if you plan on relocating. So I think everybody should set a dollar amount, but don't overdo it to where you feel like, man, this is a impossible climb to save this amount. If you got 10,000 liquid right now, don't say I want 1 million by 2027 or even 2030. Set a smaller dollar amount, then work to that 1 million. Because as the years go by and you looking at where you're at and how much you save in each month and how you might not meet that date that you set, that's because you overextended yourself in terms of what you want to save. First off, we work on eliminating debts to save. And, car notes, anything you have, I'm working on that. I'm halfway done paying on my vehicle. And so that'll help with the saving. And so we go from there. That goes to anybody else. Any student loans, any credit card debt. If you've taken out a payday loan, checking the cash, any of those places that put interest on you after you go and request some money, pay those off. Let's first drive down the debt, then we can work on saving. And not only saving, let's look at what we can cut out. Certain streaming services, if you're no longer dealing with Disney Plus, cancel that. Cut down on traveling, vacation, out to eat, the movie theater, just going out to hang out. Also, any other, if you got habits, you like to gamble, that's a big one. You need to cut that out. And just even not going out to eat, but just ordering fast food. You get in McDonald's 3 or 4 days in a row. Calm down on that. Buy groceries and eat at home just to meet your goal. And you can get a vision board. I hear a lot of women talking about how they have those and that they work. I don't have one, but if that helps you, or you can just write it down, the dollar amount you want liquid, and work on that. By liquid, I mean you log into your Wells Fargo or Bank of America or Chase account online and you see that dollar amount liquid. It's ready for withdrawal. And that's what we want to get to. Especially in these times, we have to save. I'm always pushing saving on this channel. Like I say, with grocery store prices, I don't, gas goes up and down, but even beyond all of that, because I don't know how things are going to look by 2030, we'll have a different president, maybe, unless Trump gets a third term that he's trying to put into motion. And that'll be something different if he does. But by 2030, um, another president should be in there. AI will have bloomed into whatever. We don't know how many layoffs are coming from the time I'm making this video into 2030. So we have to prepare, set a dollar amount, and stick to it. Now, if you in a relationship with someone or you got a roommate, and so now you got two incomes, then you can probably get to that amount much quicker as long as both of you all are on the same page. Is the person you're living with a saver or a spender? And that's, the next thing you got to deal with. Is ladies, is your man a saver or a spender? Guys, is your lady a saver or a spender? You all can run into some conflicts if you're both not conflicts if one of you all is a saver and the other is a spender. If you're both savers, great. If you're both spenders, you won't run into a conflict because you all are on the same page, the wrong page, but the same page. But you'll have a hard time getting to that dollar amount because you spend too much. The next thing is, of course, increasing the income. Maybe you might have the job hop. Well, if you start in a business, that'll be another stream of income to help out into what you got going on with your primary job. And then, like I say, eventually you switch that to your business being your primary. But for now, you got two incomes. And I'm just talking if you just a single person. Then if you all got a business going on and, it's you and your roommate or whoever relationship, the man and the woman in that case, then you all start a business, that's three incomes. So there's different ways to get to that dollar amount and then go from there. And like I said, don't overdo it. If you got 10,000, 20,000 saved up right now, don't try and say I'm gonna have 1 million by 2027 unless something drastic changes. Set a realistic saving amount. That way, as the time go by, you can see yourself actually gaining ground versus saying, man, I'm so far away from my saving goal. Let's not do that. So everybody's going to start from different places based on what you have saved up now and debt, your debt to income ratio, all of that. But picking them out. Start there. If you got rental property, or like I say, you were paying a mortgage, if you got plans to rent it out, or if you got plans to move, that could be a nice piece of change. Like I said, selling your home and making your next move, your best move after that. The money that you'll get from the sale of that home, if it increases in value, hopefully, that can definitely help with your savings goal. Then you take that and then parlay it into something else with the extra cash. I think this is really important right now by setting a savings amount that's reasonable, and then once you save up 400,000 or whichever number you're shooting for, that 400,000 is my personal number. Then we'll go from there, and just basically looking at what we need, how much we need to be comfortable, and then still run it up from there. Not just, okay, I got this amount saved up. And if that's what you want to do, some people will get to what they feel they need to live the rest of their life on, and then just stop grinding from there. That's on them, to each their own. 2030, I turn age 45, so keep your age in mind as well, and what you want to have by a certain age. However you want to set it, I'm setting it by date. In this case, just the year 2030. Social Security, we shouldn't depend on it. Every little bit helps. For someone that's in my generation, 45 in 2030, so 40 this year in 2025, and anybody in and around the 40 mark, a couple of years over, a couple of years under, still in your 30s, I don't know. It's all these talks about it may not be there for us. I don't know. Hopefully it is, that'll help. But let's not just depend on that. That's why the saving is so important right now. And I can't stress it any more than I'm saying right now. And I'm making this video to try and get people started on that path to at least set a dollar amount that you want saved up and put a year on it and stick to it. And I just told you some of the things to cut out, cut back on. They're not going anywhere. And then once you get that amount saved up, and hopefully we got some type of recurring income coming in, maybe from investments at that point, or once you get that amount saved up, you can throw some in the stock market, because we want to get to a point where eventually we have money coming in, that passive income, possibly through stocks and cryptocurrency. And like I said, that money can also be used to start a small business once you save up that amount. And then eventually, once your job that you have now, if you're not already working it with your own business, it's just not allowing the time for you to continue to build your dream, then you tell them by cash out your 401k, and then that's just more. But don't get rid of that just yet. Keep it while you're trying to save. That could still be another form of income for the time being. And they give yearly raises, 3%, whatever. You take that. Again, if you want a job hop and you see an opportunity to make at least 10,000 more, then do that as well. But all of that will help in hitting that savings goal. So, however you want to do it, by year, set a reasonable dollar amount. Then once you hit that, then we can go to the next one. Once I get the 400,000, then I'll probably be looking closer towards that million, but using that 400,000 to invest to try and double that to help me get to that million quicker, instead of just working for someone else trying to save up to $1 million and go from there. Because then by that time, 2030, I'm 5 years from 50. So now I'm the half century mark, and now I'm looking towards retiring from corporate America and still just doing my own thing, where I'm working for me, passive income, things like that. And there's nothing wrong with working forever. I hear people say they want to do that, and you may say, wow, that sounds crazy, but the men who I've heard say this, they're not talking about having to be somewhere at 8:30 and then you get off at 5 p.m. and then you have a yearly review like the regular corporate job or even government job. No, those guys were talking about working forever, but it's on their terms. They work for themselves and they got money coming in, and so it's just a constant push and trying to get better and just really run things up. And so that's understandable. Still have a great life. It's not really work at that point, and you still get to travel and do all of that. So don't look at it as what they're saying, oh, we're working until the day we pass away. It's just they're not talking about punching the clock. That's not what they're talking about. No one wants to do that until they pass away. So like I said, we weren't put here for that to begin with. So even take that as motivation. It still gives you something to do. I've seen people who are retired and then they get bored. They get up, they may have a vacation plan, but you're not on vacation every month. That might be 2 or 3, and that's spread out. So all this other time in between where you just in your home city is like, or surrounding suburbs, you go over there, whatever the case may be, you got to find something to do. It's only so many times you can go to the movie theater or to an opera or sit by the lake. Those things get appreciated more when you've been doing something productive and then say, I want to go and do that. And now it seems like it's recycling itself. And now like, man, this is all that I'm doing. You appreciate it more on whatever it is you like to do to party. Whatever public spot you go to. There's only so many times you want to do that because you're retired. You're not going to this spot Sunday through Saturday, whatever the case may be, just to hang out. It's just like, you'll play everything out real quick with all this, a whole year of free time, 2 years, 3 years, because you're retired. So you get up, shower, brush your teeth, maybe exercise. You 60 something now, 70 something now, but you don't went to these same places who knows how many times, all in less than a month. And then you just basically burn up all of your leisure time because you have nothing else to do. And then you wait for the vacation day that you plan on flying out of here, and that's cool, but then you come back, until the next one. Now you just back hitting the same spots because all you do is get up and then there's nothing else to do. So you might even lose inspiration. And so by what these guys who I've heard on the internet say about working until their life is over, understand they're not talking about working for someone else. It's different goals they're trying to reach, and they'll be working for themselves. So that's understandable. And just continue to have the money coming in, even if it's just through passive income. The stocks, you got money pulling from stocks, pulling from crypto, like I said, and even rental properties. But be careful with, tenants and where you want to set up shop when it comes to getting a property, So, do your research on that. But yeah, in general, first, let's start slow. Pick a dollar amount. I'm asking everybody right now, pick a dollar amount. It can be 400,000 like me by 2030 or higher. Maybe you want something saved before 2030. Pick a year, pick an amount compared to what you have saved up right now. Like I said, if you got 10,000 saved up right now, don't set it to 1 million. Everybody's in different areas. So make it realistic so you don't get discouraged because you're not going to have that amount saved by the year that you pick, but you're putting too much pressure on yourself. And begin cutting down on things. If you got children, put stuff away for them, obviously, as well, and let them know certain things we can't do as much because we got a bigger goal to save, and that stuff will be passed down to them. That way they don't got to start from zero. They don't have to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, and they'll have something being left to them by mom and dad. So also keep that in mind as well if you're parents, and that way your children can start business if they want to and have the money there. If they say, no, college is not for me, getting a trade is not for me, but at the same time, whatever they want to start, try and recognize that and have them conversations with them before they're 18. Let's see if it's practical. Can we scale that and start making money? And what suppliers do we need? And we've been saving, so now we can put that into motion. And that's just, long-term goals for the parents who are listening to this video. But everybody pick a dollar amount and start there. Put a year on it. That way you kind of hold yourself accountable and then just see where you're at. I think it's really important. And then saving helps protect you from layoffs. We want to get to a point to where we don't need to apply on LinkedIn, Indeed, or anywhere else to get paid. People already don't want to be working in government nor private sector, corporate America for 30, 40 years, 40. A lot of people are over that at this point already, and they've only been in it, from my generation, 20 years at the most, I haven't even been working in corporate America for 20 years. It's almost 20 since 2006, so 19 years. I started as an intern, so it'll be 20 years in corporate America for me in 2026. So yeah, if I did the whole 40, I'd be 60 years old by the time it's said and done. So, it's up to you, and not wanting to have to be working for 40 years until you can finally, and 60 is not even the retirement age. They raised it, I think it's at 67 now to get the full Social Security. So I think some people, my auntie took it at 62, but you don't get the full 100% her Social Security, and just she officially retired. But yeah, that'll help, but we're not dependent on that. Like I said, we can bring that in, but let's be pulling cash from bigger sources. We have to at this point. So that's it. Set a dollar amount. I told you early in the video what you can start to cut back on, and to pay down debts. I know everything I've said, I'm sure you all have heard it in the past, but so many people still are not doing it. So I just want to come and do this video and say, hey, I'm doing it, let's start. If you haven't started, we're doing this together. And, just some motivation. So like, share, and subscribe to the channel as always. Facts of Feelings, all one word, no spaces. Put that in a YouTube search, Facts of Feelings, no spaces, and my channel comes right up. And let me know down in the comments if you all think saving up to that dollar amount is possible based on where you at and what you have saved right now. I know it's people out here who have less than $10,000 saved up. So, set your dollar amount accordingly and then go from there. But let me know down in the comments if that's something you all would think about starting. If you did start already, then fell off, I'm saying get back on it again. Do you think it's possible? Or do you think it's just too expensive right now and you can't save? Let me know. You might be able to inspire somebody else. But let's save this money up and then go from there. I'm out.